TJ, how's it going? I'm taking a look at your submission. I'm looking at setup underscore 0012 because the reload looks like maybe that came a day later. Yeah, okay, so it's two submissions. Okay, so checking this out, I'll give you breakdowns and notes as far as I see them. Work on trying to get done whatever you can get done for the 16th before the class ends. But okay, let's take a look at the first shot here. I also got your file and looked into it, and you can switch the head orients to world or whatever you want. That is a keyable attribute, but you're going to lose all of your head animation unless your character came with some sort of like matching tool where you can match position and switch the space that it operates in. So that's something you kind of want to do when you start to set up your shot or before you get a lot of animation in there. It still may not be too bad. I'm just not sure, what you're going to have the bandwidth for before the class ends. So just looking at what would be nice to address is definitely hide the grenade. It should not be floating there. Yeah. Okay. And then just generally like looking at body stuff throughout this first segment. I will isolate us to that. So I'm going to always start with her cog, and the cog's looking pretty good. There is some wobbling happening in the chest, like she kind of like, I like that you're starting to lead with your head. I would maybe delay the cog's movement, but keep the chest and head and everything else going so that you can get some offset between these parts of the body. It's been something I think that's been like a recurring note, is that it all kind of feels like it's moving together. I think so maybe delay the motion of the center, the cog, like coming left to right here, and just have it leading with the chest and head. This is nice. This feels like she's peeking around the corner, but then something happens between like here, this pose, and here you can kind of see that like here, so it comes up here and then goes back down, so you kind of get this sensation of like when she's leaning over, and that feels like some complication that I don't understand why it's there. It also feels like she's really leaned out from like the corner and really maybe unnecessarily exposing herself to the view of this character when maybe she should just be kind of peeking the corner. Feels like from this position she would almost be able to see around the corner without exposing herself too much. It would be nice if we can get maybe like a little more appealing pose on this frame, maybe seeing, not so much of the top of her head. I understand we're going to see quite a good deal of the top of her head, but maybe, if it's all possible to see like a little bit of her profile or just be able to be engaged with her face a little bit more. The screen right arm is doing something kind of odd through this area. I'm not sure if it's pressed against the wall or reaching for the wall, or what this action would be from this pose moving to this pose. So it does feel like this feels like an adjust going to touch the wall, which is great. We're going to have to fix that penetration through the wall. Be nice to get this pose at least where the thumb wasn't penetrating through the wall, just like a little cleanup pass like that. But maybe this hand doesn't need to drop before coming here. You know what I mean? If this was against the wall, which it kind of looks like by how straight the arm is. Let me see. I have your file, so I can just take a look, perhaps. Oh no, maybe this is older animation or something. Yeah, maybe this is older animation. I don't think that this matches. Anyways, so if her hand's against the wall here, let's just leave it against the wall and then have this be an adjust. or if she's still walking, and then maybe we can make this like a more natural looking kind of arm and hand pose and not have the elbow be totally straight and locked. That would be nice. Yeah. Okay. Cool. This feels like it doesn't match what's going on here. Like here, her head feels up, and here her head feels pointed down. So maybe we can make that feel like like the cut works a little bit better for the continuity. Like it'd be nice if she came up here and her head was like more straight up and down. You know, like we feel like her back's against the wall. And I think I've mentioned this before. It'd be nice to feel like a little thought process happening here. It's like, okay, there's a guard. What do I do? I know I'm gonna go for something in my belt, and then she starts to go, and then we cut on this, right? I don't know if there's a way to get this hand more to the screen right, to kind of help lead us to say, oh, I'm going to go for something in the belt, rather than like something, you know, we want to use this whole gesture to kind of show the audience like what we're thinking and where we're going to go. So if they're, you know, hopefully we can kind of like foreshadow our actions so our audience gets focused on like where their attention should be. So instead of having it be so screen left, it's more like here, and then instead of going like up and down and back, we have like less room to go. We just have to go, yeah, like maybe that. This isn't bad as far as spacing or whatever goes, but maybe we can like, you know, design like a little nicer of a hand pose by getting some of the fingers more in line, and like the thumb back there is maybe like a little distracting. So yeah, but the idea is that we're going from here back here more in a straight way. And it would be really nice if we could see, you know, I think I've mentioned this before too, like an anticipation to the grab, so that feels like mechanically more plausible. You know, so that we see that it's about to grab, and then we grab. Because right now the hand disappears off screen, and then all of a sudden like the hand's back on screen, but it's like the canister jumps into it. We have like a lot of penetrations happening between the fingers and the skirt throughout this area. And then, you know, there's just a lot of busyness here. Like we pull it up, we pull it to the right, and then we twist it around. So this could probably all be made simpler into just fewer direction changes and things to keep it really simple. All right, then we pull this up, and this is by and large working. I would just clean up some of these penetrations of the fingers, like poking through the canister. You know, just try to make this pose look really, really good, because it's going to be like full in screen. So it's going to be like carefully try to design this so that it looks plausible. Like that thumb, there's something about like I'm not really reading like the pad of the thumb over here, or how this thumb is actually like gripping around it. You know what I mean? But it's close. I think it's close to being kind of where we need it to be. And this shaking gesture, I know I've mentioned it before, maybe you just haven't gotten to it, but it feels like the whole upper torso and everything is kind of twisting and rocking and everything with the torso, and the head and neck is just kind of along for the ride. Like it looks like it's all connected and it's all one piece. So I feel like this is just, we got to take a look at the torso and get everything kind of like in a more believable way mechanically. Like if you look at your reference and what your upper torso is doing, it's pretty steady and it's pretty still, right? It's mostly just coming from your arm. And I'm not saying there should be like absolutely no keys on the upper torso, but it should just be tiny keep alive stuff and not feel like it's being super like ripped around by that gesture, you know. All right, cool. So she picks it up and considers it. It'd be nice to get a little animation on her eyes, because right now her eye direction doesn't look like it's being animated at all. So if we want to have her looking at the thing, let's make her look at the thing, because that's really going to give the audience a sense that she's like a thinking, real character, and that's important. You know what I mean? And then this anticipation, she kind of like brings it. So she brings the canister to the left here, and then it goes down and to the right, and then it goes further to the left again. I would just simplify that. Have her look over to the right here and just bring the canister up in the anticipation pose, the extreme of that, whatever you choose that to be. Just have it go more simply from considering it up to that extreme, and then throw it. And if you look at your throw, it feels natural to me. You're kind of like leading with the elbow and keeping the canister like it goes from above the elbow to below the elbow. In your animation, you're not really like leading with the elbow and upper arm. You're getting a twist. It feels like this is twisting here this way. So I think the way that you get from here to here can be more carefully considered. You're in like an anticipation pose, your elbows up, and then here I really want you to be down, like lead with the elbow. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna carry this thing. So look at your reference and try to match it maybe a little bit more to get that throw to look a little bit more plausible, more mechanically grounded, I would say. Cool. And I'm going to take a look at your reload AVI. This is getting better. I feel like, you know, it has work done. It's being better considered. But we're still getting like huge penetrations there. The hand just kind of in betweens from A to B, goes through the clip, and then just winds up in this position. So we're missing like any sense of like the fingers being open, anticipation of grabbing this thing, you know what I mean? And then having a few frames where the fingers actually grab it before it starts to like pull it out of the weapon, and then it pulls it out of the weapon and the fingers are like holding onto it. Here the fingers are opening and the clip is moving along with the hand, even though it doesn't look like there's any kind of connection between the hand and the clip. You know, here it's like the hand's moving, but the clip or the magazine or whatever the proper terminology is, the hand's moving, the magazine isn't at all. And then the hand lets go and then the magazine starts moving kind of like on its own. So I think that needs some cleanup and some consideration, you know. Again, here we have like thumb and everything passing through. This grip, I bet we could make feel tighter, but if you don't have time for that, that's fine. But once you stick the magazine into the gun, we may need like a beat with the hand still here, or at least like the fingers beginning to open up to like release it with the hand still like in position, and then the hand can move up onto the next thing. I feel like, you know, if this is our spacing going from the hand here to here, then we need to do better spacing to totally change direction on the hand. It's really hard for it to go up and then back down in just a couple frames like that. Like the spacing is pretty extreme. So I think you need some more frames there to make that work. And if we're like kind of slapping that bolt down, then yeah. Here, you know, here the fingers are open. It feels like we're anticipating this grab on the gun, but then when you grab the gun, we're seeing the thumb pop through, and we're seeing the fingers not really grab the gun, and all this stuff, which I think you know. You may want to constrain, here you may want to constrain like the wrist controller to the gun with that double locator technique I showed last semester, where this locator is the parent of this locator, and then this is the one you put keys on so you don't break the constraint, and then you animate the IK arm only with this locator. Yep. That way it'll stick to the gun, because right now it looks like maybe you're just trying to move it at the same time with the gun, and that's why it's not really working. I'm not sure what this key is here on the end, so I'm just gonna choose not to talk about that. Okay. So yeah, keep trying to address all of this like major big time stuff. It'd be nice too if you do get any time to like actually animate her face, get her eyes like looking at what she's doing, getting some blinks, getting some thought process into her performance wherever possible. Yeah. All right. Keep on going. Try to clean up as much of this as you can. Like the stuff I'm talking about is just the big stuff. There's tons of like little stuff too, that we can talk about further. But like, you're gonna have to like really pay attention to her eye direction and performance and all the rest of it. All right. Okay. Look forward to seeing your next submission. Bye.